President Trump's health still remains in question, but this isn't stopping him from focusing on the election. CBS News has learned the president spent parts of Sunday calling supporters and political allies from Walter Reed Medical Center. Mr. Trump has also taken to Twitter today, listing traditional rally talking points and telling people to vote. Joe Biden's campaign says the former VP has again tested negative for the coronavirus. That is ahead of 3 events in Miami today. We are now just 29 days out from the election. Our Ed O'Keefe reports on the state of both campaigns with less than a month to go before voting ends.
Despite President Trump's COVID-19 diagnosis, top campaign aides insist he'll be back in action soon.
Very shortly, he is going to be back in the game throwing 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. You can count on that.
See you on the next Team Trump Online.
The Trump campaign is moving ahead with virtual events and isn't stopping attacks on rival Joe Biden's COVID precautions out on the trail.
Biden wants to surrender our country to the virus.
Now, I'd say that with regard to Joe Biden, I think too often he's used the mask as a prop.
And the plan is for Vice President Mike Pence to campaign in Arizona on Thursday, a day after he debates Biden running mate Senator Kamala Harris in Utah. Meanwhile, Biden is keeping to his schedule and preparing for the next 2 debates, if they happen.
We send President Trump our best. We hope that he is well and able to debate. If he is, Joe Biden will certainly be there.
But Biden is pulling down all attack ads, at least for now, even as he intends to keep spending tens of millions of dollars on TV and digital ads. And he's trying to pull off a tricky balancing act. He expresses concern for the first family.
Jill and I pray for their quick and full recovery, but our thoughts are with the families and the members you've lost as well.
But on Saturday, criticized the president for failing to provide personal protective equipment to transportation workers.
If that's not the president's responsibility, what the heck is his responsibility? Not my fault. I have no responsibility. Go to your mayor, your governor, your employer. It's unconscionable.
Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, Washington.
Let's bring in Chris Wilson now. He's a Republican pollster and CEO of WPA Intelligence, a research firm. Chris, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So we've hit this critical juncture for both campaigns with less than a month until the election. What type of narrative can we expect from both the Biden and Trump camps, given the president's current health?
Well, I don't think the health, as you pointed out, is going to have much of an impact on what President Trump does. He's got his talking points down. He's going to stick with them. And I think really the narrative of these 2 campaigns are pretty much locked in unless something major happens, which it's 2020, so it's highly likely something major will happen. But look, Trump clearly wants to get back on the campaign trail. It could happen more quickly than anybody would have expected. He wants the story to be the economy, where the numbers are again looking good, and he wants it to be about the violence and riots coming from Antifa and other left-wing groups. I think inevitably you're going to see the president return to the campaign trail with a "I beat COVID and so will America" type of approach. And I'm not sure that you're going to see many more campaign ads that focus on Biden and the left's approach on economy and public safety. But it might be a good closing ad, sort of the economy thing. The Biden campaign, I do want to correct something your reporter said. Even though they announced that they've taken down negative ads, they have not. They were up as recently as this morning, in fact, I was able to confirm. So I think they're getting the press positive attention for saying we pulled it down while not actually doing so. He's going to continue to hammer COVID as an issue, as you just showed. He's going to continue to drive sort of a positive, I'm going to try and bring people together argument while Trump divides us. And you might even see more focus on a refusal of Trump's supposed refusal to disown right-wing groups, as that debate video really lends itself to be made into a good TV spot. So that's probably what we have to look forward to for the next few weeks.
Well, Chris, you talk about, the president's talking points, the campaign talking points being baked in unless something major happens. But something major did happen. The president came down with COVID-19. So you talk to a lot of Republican voters. How much of a concern is the president's health to them right now? And is the coronavirus pandemic a factor in their vote?
I think on Friday, it definitely was a concern. And there was no tweeting going on, which kind of shocked everybody. Is he okay? But then by Saturday, sent out videos. And Sunday, as you mentioned, he's really kind of back doing the campaign thing right there from the hospital room. And so if it is, as it seems to be expected, if he's released today, I think it sort of it becomes a non-issue in the campaign. And there's really only 2 pollsters right now that seem to be tracking on a nightly basis. And I spent some time looking at those this morning, and really nothing changed. It's YouGov and Ipsos, for any of your listeners that want to go look at them. And their ballots are the same for the weekend, with Republicans and Democrats and independents, post-debate, pre-debate. So in a lot of ways, I think we look at this campaign, as I said earlier, I'll use the term again, it's a lot of it is baked in. And so what we have is the only way something changes one way or the other is if either the Democrat nominee or President Trump, Joe Biden and President Trump, are able to turn out more voters that weren't already likely to vote. I think, candidly, the Democrats have been doing a better job of that prior to the Amy Coney Barrett nomination. Republicans started to do better, and I don't know that this the COVID-19 diagnosis of the president has any impact on that. I think we kind of stay status quo in terms of the way that they are motivating new voters.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This week's vice presidential debate has certainly gained even more importance given the president's current health battle. Is there anything specific you'll be looking out for, especially from Vice President Pence?
Yeah, there is a lot. And if you think back to the Democrat debates, probably the greatest, some of the best moments came from Kamala Harris, both on in her favor whenever she sort of nailed Joe Biden down with "that girl was me" story, and then whenever Tulsi Gabbard clearly got under her skin and made her angry. And so Kamala Harris has a real balancing act to do. In one way, she wants to be this law and order, heavy-handed, I put kids in jail type of approach, or put parents in jail for truancy type of approach. And the other way, she's become this ultra progressive. And I think the vice president has a task ahead of him, but also he's a talented debater. I've known him for a long time, and if he's able to play either of those roles, he can be kind of the Tulsi Gabbard of this debate. It could have an impact. Now, having said that, let's face it, vice presidential debates seldom have any impact on the race. I mean, probably the most famous story was the Lloyd Bentsen-Dan Quayle debate back in 1992 or 1988. I'm sorry, where really it was almost, if it was a fight, they probably would have had to have stopped it. Yet had zero impact on the presidential race. So overall, I doubt it has an impact outside of just kind of being people like us giving us something to talk about. And it's going to get down to what happens between the president and Joe Biden moving forward in terms of their debate. And that's really the only thing that I think could shake this race up much.
All right. Well, I'll be watching for sure. Now, Chris, you've advised several campaigns before, including Senator Ted Cruz's during his 2016 presidential bid. If you were advising the president right now, is there a particular message you would suggest he get out?
Well, I should be clear and probably offer the caveat to your viewers, I am not. But if I were, I do believe that even though what came out of the debate was in terms of coverage was sort of the president's comments about the right-wing groups, I think Joe Biden's comment about Antifa being an idea, not being an actual group. Look, anybody who spends any time watching the news has seen the riots, has seen the destruction, has seen the storefronts being burned down. And I think that is the one place where probably the vice president made the biggest mistake from a standpoint of what I'm talking about here strategically. I don't think there's been a lot of movement in terms of swing voters or undecideds. There's not many left. The only difference now is who can turn out more of their base that didn't vote in the past. And that's why President Trump won in 2016. He was able to turn out voters that had not voted for president since 2004 George W. Bush reelection. They sat out Romney, they sat out McCain. And so if he's able to appeal to those voters, and I think a law and order message has the ability to do that, even maybe more some of our nationalistic economic message he was able to take advantage of in 2016. If he's able to do that, I think you could see this race start to recrystallize itself. But right now, I think it's, like I said, status quo minus that sort of approach.
All right. Well, Chris Wilson, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.